Hey everyone, my name is Jessica Priest and I'm a journalist with the Fort Worth Report, and we're spending a few minutes with Councilman Nettles. You may have seen on our website that we've done a few minutes with Mayor Maddie Parker. Mayor Parker isn't available this week, so I asked the councilman if he'd like to talk, and he graciously accepted. And that's great because we've always wanted to make this a broader series with more community leaders, and Councilman Nettles is part of like a new majority on council, a majority of newbies, I guess. 5 new city council members in Fort Worth. So thank you for joining us.
No problem, thank you. I'm glad I'm here this morning.
Yeah. So to start off, could you tell us a little bit about what you're working on this week?
Well, this week, like all the other weeks, have been pretty busy. Several meetings, and we've really been working and focusing on the Evans and Rosedale project. That's a project that has been stalled and on a standstill for over 2.5 years. It's where we're going to revitalize Evans and Rosedale and bring new development, jobs, and a potential grocery store. The developer has in the works and the plans to set aside a spot for a grocery store. And so, but first we have to get the development off the ground in order to make that take place. We have some things going on in Morningside. Morningside is building new homes. There has been a lot of vacant lots that's been there for some time now. And so people are buying lots and building on them. And so we have some builders, and so I'll be meeting with a reporter there to kind of talk about the difference between gentrification and revitalization, and basically how we can bring up the South Side and historical South Side. So that's kind of what my week's been about this week.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on, like, what is gentrification to you, and how as a council member are you gonna develop without gentrifying, if that's your goal?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is my goal. It's a thin line. I tell people gentrification and revitalization is very thin. You know, it's almost one and the same. But gentrification is where you actually take a piece of land that's probably owned by other people and you build on it for the wealthy to come in, move in, and take over the land. And so that's what gentrification is. And so we're not doing that at all. The land that we're building on is for people who used to live in Morningside, people who left and, you know, or their homes are not there anymore. And so they're just purchasing the homes. And the difference is they're not building homes from 1960 or 1970. So the brick and mortar is going to be different. It's going to look a little bit modern. But that's not gentrification. That's just bringing up the community. And I tell people that in an older neighborhood like that, it's going to be my goal and initiative to make sure that our seniors who live there have tax exemptions. And so if they own their home, you know, I hope you can help me get the word out. But if people own their homes, reach out to my office so that we can make sure that we get you taxes in, so that when taxes start going up, because it's probably going to happen, but they don't go up on those who have lived there for many years. Okay.
So not just placing long-time residents for
Right.
new development. Okay. And on the grocery store, what steps have you taken to recruit a grocery store? What kind of grocery store are you looking for in District 8?
If I can say it like that, I met with Mayor Parker, the city manager, and, you know, I kind of asked, you know, for their assistance and help. Because I think it's going to be a citywide initiative that needs to take place to help bring this necessity to District 8. And so we have reached to a couple of grocery stores. We're trying to contact HEB again, because initially they tried to come, well, it was some negotiation to bring them to the east side of Fort Worth. And so I'm going to reach back out to them. We're trying to reach back out to Aldi's. As it relates to the Evans and Rosedale project, we're trying to start the project, see the houses, the apartments go up, the development to move, so that we can say, hey, we have 300 units that's coming here. We already got these people that live in this area. What type of grocery store that we can bring here? You know, maybe it's Sprouts, but we don't want anything that people who live there cannot afford to shop. And we want to make sure it has fresh produce.
Yeah. You talked on the campaign trail about maybe getting some numbers from Walmart to
Yes.
show that the area can support a an additional grocery store. Were they amenable to that, to giving you any numbers to show
Well,
us?
we're still working on that, and so we should hopefully by the end of August have a set meeting with those that's in charge of that, and we want to get those numbers because I think those numbers are really, I'm glad you brought that up, is really going to help support a second grocery store, the type of traffic that's in there, the amount of how many times the shelves are empty, you know, how many deliveries they have on a constant basis. Because during the COVID-19, I know every store was empty, but that store was completely empty, and then there was no other resource around. Versus, you know, in District 6, you had Kroger's, Harrison's, Walmart, Aldi's. Within, you stand on the corner and look from corner to corner, you see all these stores. You can't do them in District 8.
Yeah. So what's the location of that Walmart that you're referring to? Is it on
287. It's right here.
Okay.
So it's in the east part of Fort Worth, off of 287 in Mitchell. And I tell people, 10, 11, 12 years ago, that Walmart did not exist. It was completely a desert there. And Kathleen Hicks, former Mayor Mike Munkery, and Happy Baggett worked tirelessly to prove that we can support a grocery store. That was 12 years ago. You know, so surely we should have some numbers and data to show that we can prove to have. You know, maybe if it's not a Walmart, if it's not H-E-B, maybe like I said, maybe an Aldi's, maybe a store that's much smaller, so that our seniors who live in this area, you know, don't have to go, because some people don't want to go to a big grocery store. They might just want to go to a grocery store that's going to get in and out in a little bit of time.
Yeah. So switching gears, in your first days in office, you wrote and delivered a letter talking about the Tatiana Jefferson case and how you wanted to see that go to trial sooner rather than later. Could you tell us what response you got to the letter and what, if anything, more you're going to do to see that case goes to trial if you can? I know you're limited on that.
You know, and you know, I tell people, you know, a lot of people say, you know, it's a campaign promise, and it was. But more than a campaign promise, it's reality, it's justice, it's fair, and we need to bring this trial to a head. And I tell people that city council, mayor, or any elected official, you have the ability to have power to use your position to change the direction of Fort Worth. And so that's exactly what I wanted to do, is use my position and my authority to say, hey, it's important to our community that we have justice as it relates to Tatiana Jefferson. As it relates to the outcomes that we received, the judge did acknowledge she did receive our letter, because we sent it via email as well as and delivered it. I haven't heard anything from the district attorney's office, but Mayor Parker also wrote a statement shortly right after or simultaneously at the same time, I'm not sure. She released a statement saying the importance of the trial coming to a head. So prior to the new council, nobody in city council did anything. So for me to do something and then Mayor Parker to turn around and do something, that really speaks volumes that I don't stand alone. I don't stand in a silo. I'm actually leading the forces to bring the groups of people around. And I sent the same letter to all my colleagues. And I believe that it's important to be transparent. So I wanted them to know what I was doing and just to be aware. So if anybody, reporter, would ask them about it, they was aware of what I was doing. And a lot of them said, hey, go for it, good job. You know, we need the trial to move forward. And I don't want to speak in their own words. You know, you can ask them yourself what their thoughts on it. But what I say is, it's been good reviews. Now we just need the judge to set the trial. It's simple. Set a date. I'm not asking for any special privileges, or we're not asking for you to rule any special way. You know, we just think the only way that we can start the process of peace and unity if you set a trial and let the people or the justice system work.
Yeah. Do you have any, I know when I talked with Mayor Parker, she mentioned that maybe there are some other cases that he has to try before this one. Do you know of those specifics, or?
You know, and that's, I'm sure that's true, but you have to look at the seriousness of this case. You know, it happened in October. It happened, almost 2 years ago. And so we're walking on 2 years, and you know, there's a lot of cases I'm sure that they have not seen or have not tried due to COVID-19. But I think it's important. This is not, you know, somebody stole somebody at the grocery store, somebody stabbed somebody. This was a then Fort Worth police officer who murdered a resident in her own home. You know, he's no longer with the force. He has been indicted for murder. And I mean, it's a community issue that has not been solved. So it affects the entire city of Fort Worth. So I think it should be at the top of the list.
Yeah, like the trust the community has
The
with
trust.
the police. Have you worked with the mayor or the police chief on how, like, when the case does go to trial, you will support or, you know, protect the city through this emotional case? What have you done in that arena, I guess?
So there has been, and I don't want to go into detail, but there has been some neighborhood leaders, and Mayor Parker has been involved, and some of the city staff has been involved in meeting with community leaders to come up with a central message that, you know, when this trial come to head, when it concludes, that there is a message that the city is going to put out and a message that the community is going to put out, and it's going to be the same message and vision. And which is, you know, it's not going to be easy. That's going to be a hard message to put out of unity, but I'm going to be on the front line and say, listen, I want the trial, but I want the community still to act accordingly. You know, protest if you will, you know, march if you will, but make sure that we stay safe. There's no violence. We're asking for no violence to take place during the trial. We want the trial to stay here in Tarrant County. We want people to be able to sit in on the case. We want people to be able to have complete transparency. And for us to do that, we got to make sure that we don't lose our cool or our head. And so you'll see me being a little vocal, reminding the community. You know, I was on the front line marching, but I'm still going to be on the same front line. But I'm going to be saying, let's keep the peace. Let's let the justice system work. Let's believe in the system. And let's hope that Tonya Jefferson and her family receive the justice that they're entitled to.
Yeah, do you think the community is more amenable to that message with just how the George Floyd case was resolved recently? Like, that the justice system will work?
You know, I think they will be, and I say like this, no, I don't really know if there is going to be satisfaction on all parts, because, you know, just like the Amber Geiger trial, you know, it happened, you know, she killed him and was set on trial in 300 and some odd days. It's been over 620 days for our trial, and she was indicted for murder, convicted, and only got 10 years. You know, me and you murder somebody, I don't think 10 years is on the books for us. You know, same thing for George Floyd, and I can't remember the amount of years he got, but, you know, how long should a person get for life? You know, especially, you know, an innocent person, you know. And so, you know, I might say 50 years. I might say life. And then he might only get 10, 20 years. And so, you know, whatever that outcome is going to be, there's going to be people who are not satisfied with that outcome. And that's the reality of the world and the system. But we need some type of justice. And so, and that's why I want the city to understand we can't play a part in the trial. the only part we play is to make sure that it's transparent, to make sure that we support the people who live in our city, and we support the justice system. And again, that's another fine line, that we have to trail. But the only way we do that is let the people know that we're here for you. And how do we let them know is we send letters to the DA's office and say, set a trial date. We tell the judge to keep the trial here. Because before they gave a gag order, well, nobody will say anything, But that doesn't apply to me, and I don't know any logistics of the case. I just know that an innocent woman was murdered in her own home, and there needs to be a trial set.
Sorry to have such a serious question and to end it on that, but is there anything else that you want to talk to? You want to be respectful of your time, of course, and keep this to a few minutes, but anything else you're working on that you'd like to promote or let people know, any events coming up, things like that?
Yeah, and so, one thing about our office is we want to make sure that the people know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And so there's a few projects that I have jumped in and just dived straight in to push them forward. And so September the 22nd, we're going to have a State of the District address. And basically we're going to just lay out what it is that I plan to do for District 8, how we plan to get a grocery store. I talked about also getting people to sign petitions that, hey, we will support. We live in Rolling Hills, we live in Morningside, we live in Holland Hills, we live in those different neighborhoods. Get them to sign a petition to say, hey, we will support a grocery store. And that's kind of how we're going to try to build up a database of support. Those are some of the things that we're going to be doing. I don't know what the next step is. If I'm looking for mid-August, if we don't have a trial date set, you'll look to hear from me on the next strategy to help promote that date. So just stay tuned for that. But other than that, we're going to make sure that we let the community know exactly what we're doing.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us. Viewers, if you have any questions that you would like us to follow up with Councilman Nettles on, please message us in our social channels. You can also suggest future guests for us. We're still learning about the community, and this was a great first step. Thank you again, Councilman, for coming. And if you want to support our journalism, go to fortworthreport.org. You can read about some of the topics that we have been talking about, some of our coverage on them, and you can also donate by going to fortworthreport.org/donate. Thank you.